Everyone likes a Charizard, don't they? Come on, does 300 damage. Welcome back, everyone, to more from the Sableyes. I'm Mitch, and today we're going to take a look at our second deck list from Darkness Ablaze. We are looking at Charizard Vmax. This card is obviously very, very powerful. It follows on from all of those other Charizard cards in the past that have done huge amounts of damage, but 300 damage with the Charizard Vmax, is it enough? Are we going to be able to get one-shot knockouts on those big Vmaxes, or is it going to be just too short? It's yet to be seen. I really like the list that we've come up with, and hopefully you do too. It's a pretty strong one, but before we take a look at it, just wanted to very quickly have a chat about all sorts of different fun YouTube things, like subscribing. If you'd subscribe, that would be great. We can see more deck lists from us. I'd really appreciate it. It only takes a second, and you can always unsubscribe if you'd like. Whilst you're down there, if you could like this video, it means that more people get a chance to see it. YouTube algorithm really likes a like, so if you could do that, that would be great. Anyway, we will jump straight into the list now and show you just how you can build Charizard Vmax once Darkness Ablaze drops. So here is our Charizard Vmax list that we've been testing with over the last couple of days. If you want to see this list in action, then obviously stick around on the channel. We'll definitely have some gameplay soon, but we also are playing these decks live on Twitch on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays from 8:30 Central Standard Time. So if you're interested, that's Australian Central Standard Time, I should mention. If you are interested in seeing these in action, then feel free to stop by. I'm playing them all the time. Let's talk, if we can, about Charizard. There he is. Vmax Wildfire, 300 damage. It's a classic Charizard card in that it is going to do a ton of hurt to your opponent's active. 300 damage, obviously not enough to deal with large Vmax Pokemon. Obviously, Eternatus has 340, Charizard has 330. All sorts of Pokemon can get beyond it, but with the help of things like Zigzagoon, we can potentially get this Vmax Wildfire to take one big knockout in a game, and ultimately that's sometimes all that we need to do. If we're the only deck in the format that can take a one-shot, if our opponent's always half hitting into us, then we are eventually going to get a little bit of momentum, and so that Vmax Wildfire is going to do the job. It is important as well to note that Charizard V does have a pretty usable attack. Fire Spin for 4 energy does 220 damage, which is nothing to sneeze at, but obviously the Vmax is the one that we want to get in play. 300 damage is a lot. We're going to try and start second with this deck. We're going to do that for a couple of reasons. Firstly, we obviously have the 3 copies of Flare Starter Volcanion. I've seen lists floating around at the moment that have 4 copies of this Volcanion, and that's fair enough. Flare Starter going second is super, super good. It allows us to attach 3 energy to a Charizard on the first turn of the game, which means that the next turn, all we need is 1 copy of Triple Acceleration, and we are away. The good thing about the extra copies of Volcanion as well is that High Heat Blast lets us get around some pesky one-prize Pokemon, specifically Decidueye, which this deck otherwise wouldn't be able to deal with. So Volcanion does a really, really good job with that. Powers up your Charizard. You can Fire Spin for 220 on turn 2 if you'd like, or you can just go straight for the Vmax Wildfire if you find a copy of Welder. The rest of the deck is designed to get those 2 attacks off. We've got 4 copies of Jirachi. We're running quite a thick line of Jirachi in this particular build, and that's because we really want to find Welder as often as possible. Jirachi's Stellar Wish obviously still very strong. Even though we have lost a skateboard in the new format, we can still switch out of it and scoop Jirachis up, so it's not a bad option. Stellar Wish always going to be very, very strong to help us find those extra cards when we need them. We also have 2 copies of the Dene, opting to not play the new Crobat V in this list, instead going for the raw draw of the Dene. We don't want to find ourselves in a situation where we need to find Welder and Crobat can only draw 2 or 3 cards for us. The Dene will always be live in the sense that we can always discard our hand and draw 6 fresh cards, so that's very, very good. And we also have 1 copy of Happy Match Eldegoss V. We can put this bad boy into play, get ourselves a Welder back from the discard pile, or even a Boss's Orders if we would like, and that's going to give us access to another attack down the line. Now, I mentioned the Zigzagoon before. Headbutt, Tantrum, very, very good, especially going into a bit of a format where everyone's testing Vmax Pokemon. If you're able to put some ticks onto your opponent's active or potential future Vmax, then you're going to probably have a pretty good time. I was testing this against the Eternatus recently, and a couple of Zigzagoons early onto an Eternatus means that you only need 1 or 2 scoop-ups to try and get a knockout for a single turn attack. So that's pretty good. If I don't say so myself. Now, we're obviously playing 4 copies of Super Scoop Up so that we can get that Zigzagoon off regularly. It's not something that's going to happen all the time, but we are going to be able to give it a go. We also have 4 copies of Quick Ball to help us find out basic Pokemon and 3 Pokecom. This is a count that I'm not necessarily happy with. Obviously, Charizard Vmax is the key for this deck. We want to get it out as often as possible, and when we've got only 3 options to search for it, it can be a little bit frustrating, but I haven't found any problems getting to the Vmax when I need it so far, so 3 copies is where we're going to stay. 4 Welder and 2 Boss, we've already spoken at length about those. Welder obviously very, very powerful, and Boss one of the best Gust cards that we have seen for a very long time. Gusting means that we can potentially take knockouts with just our regular Charizard. 220 is going to knock out most V Pokemon, including itself, so it's going to be able to deal with a lot of those awkward threats that maybe a Vmax is just a little bit too far away from getting. Those extra energies are too far away. Now, we mentioned the 4 copies of Switch that this list runs. We need to get Jirachis out of the active, as well as Volcanions on turn 1 or 2, so we need to get that switch going. And we have a single reset stamp as well. Hopefully we can force our opponent to take 4 or maybe even 5 prizes, and we can stamp them to a low hand size. Though 1 stamp in a Dedenne-focused Welder deck doesn't often bode well. It's definitely worth having just in case. When it comes to our energy, we have 12 copies of Fire Energy and 3 Triple Acceleration Energy. The Fire Energy, obviously very, very strong for our Charizards, but we also need to be able to search them out for Volcanion, and the Triple Acceleration Energy is super, super good with Gmax Wildfire, where we need to discard 2 energy. The Triple Acceleration actually fulfills that requirement, so you can discard just the 1 Triple Acceleration Energy, which was going in the bin anyway, and then get that Gmax Wildfire off. The only thing that we need to worry about is finding these energies at the right time, and if we have Flare started, then it can be a little bit awkward. So we have 3 copies of Giant Hearth to bring them out of the deck, and 2 copies of Fire Crystal to get them out of the discard pile. As long as we can keep this Welder train going, we should be okay, and Charizard is definitely strong enough to keep that going. The best thing about it as well is that it's not getting one-shot by anything anytime soon. So if you're able to get that one-shot, a couple of Zigzagoon ticks here and there, and then a big Gmax Wildfire, you should be set to win a game. But, you know, there's always variance on these types of lists. I know I've seen a ton of different decks floating around, so if you have a better list, or if you'd prefer to play some different cards, then why not discuss it with us? Jump onto our Discord, which is linked in the description below. You can have a chat with me and tell me exactly what you think we can improve in this Charizard list. But, you know, it's always fun to play Charizard. Very, very powerful. 300 damage is super, super good, and hopefully it can see a little bit of success in the Darkness Ablaze meta. So that's the list. Yet again, another short video, but you'll be seeing some more gameplay from us very, very soon. Check out the channel over the next couple of days. I've got to finish up the Players' Cup first. Those games take priority, but now we are well and truly into our testing of Darkness Ablaze. We're going to be seeing way more of these kind of cards coming out onto the channel. Hopefully you have enjoyed it. If you have, please consider subscribing. Click the button that is above the Sableye head right now to do that. Over on the right-hand side, you'll see a playlist of our Darkness Ablaze deck lists, and on the left, there's a couple of videos that YouTube thinks you'll like. Yeah, we'll hopefully see you all around for the next one. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you soon. Bye.